We are
Didi
and Arma, and in our daily lives we support people on the path of self-liberation. We teach time-tested energy skills like Qigong, Tai Chi, internal alchemy, traditional nutrition and meditation.
We help people release stagnation, build energy, and become aligned with themselves and their purpose in life.
In this podcast, we share the methods, skills, and solutions that helped us, our students, and now hopefully you move forward.
Let's explore transformation together.
Welcome to the podcast. Today we're talking about feelings. Yeah, we're talking about feelings and how to influence the way we feel from the inside. So Didi, last podcast I asked you, what do you do first thing in the morning?
Yeah.
And we were talking about stretching and opening the joints the last time, but there's something else.
Yeah. And second thing I do after getting up is I always write my journal. Yeah.
You've been at that a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Years. Yeah. Every morning I write down what I love about myself. I start with that.
It's a lot.
Oh yeah. Oh, so many things. And every time I come up with new things, which is crazy. Because when I first started, it was hard to think about 3 things that I loved about myself. And now it's like it just evolves. And there's always more to add to it.
Isn't that amazing? But going back a little bit further, what prompted you to do that, to start that? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. I was reading this book of Kate Northrup, and it was Money, a Love Story. And she had this exercise because she said, first of all, you need to feel good about yourself and able to give yourself kind of permission or to actually have a good connection with money. That was the thing that started it, actually. But it's not just about money. It's about
things. Yeah, that's the most physical aspect of it, you could say, right?
Yeah.
But it's more about allowing yourself an abundant life.
Exactly.
And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with money, right? It's more about, I guess the law of attraction is at work here.
Yeah. So that was what started it. And she actually said, or that was the exercise in the book, do this for 21 days. But it just felt really good to do it, to write it down. And then I don't know where I got that from, but then I added what I'm thankful for. So I always take one page where I put 3 things that I love about myself, and then I write a lot of things down what I'm thankful for. Mm-hmm. And that's the funny thing. Once you start doing that, actually that was of the book of Napoleon Hill, I think, or one of the others, about the law of attraction. When you change your mindset on what you're thankful for, that's so different. That gives you a whole new perspective on things.
A perspective, but I guess you influence the way you feel about something.
Yeah.
So, and if you influence the way you feel about something, you're influencing your energy.
Yeah.
And since you're an energy being, you're changing your whole vibration. Yeah. And since this vibration is living in an endless energy field, then the law of attraction becomes a little bit more of a little bit less of an abstract thing.
Yeah.
Because of course, the way you feel in the world, you're a magnet. Yeah. So, what are you attracting in your life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a completely different thing than, when I go back when I was younger, I realized at a certain point I'm looking for this fulfillment and feeling better on the outside. So what do people think about me? Or if I reach that goal, I will have, I will feel good. But first I have to reach that goal. Yeah. So I put that on the outside instead of, hey, how do I feel on the inside and can I change that, right? Yeah. So situations, and our reactions towards situations all through our lives, we also get hurt by situations, right? When we're younger. And that has an influence on how we feel.
Yeah.
And that this feeling starts to become a protective thing as well, because you don't want to hurt anymore. So you're going to protect yourself from, that experience or whatever. So what can happen is that you're coming more and more into a contracted state.
Absolutely.
And from that contracted state, it's easier to try to find it on the outside.
Absolutely.
Because it's such an unconscious behavior, you could say, right? It's not conscious at all.
Yeah.
Until something, bang, and then, now you wake up to that, and it's like, we were in Paris a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
We just had to get out, during these times, of course, right? We felt a little bit locked in, so we were like, why not go to Paris for one day? And that's 2.5 hours with the train from here. So we decided to go there, and we sort of had a plan because we only had one day, right? So you sort of have to plan that because, for you who've been there, it's pretty big. There's a lot to do or to see.
Yeah.
But everything in that day moved us towards the Pantheon. Yeah. Funny enough.
Yeah.
Right?
We had other plans, but they didn't work out. And we both love this area. And there's these lovely restaurants there, and it's just a nice area to walk around.
Absolutely.
Lots of students in that area, so it's very lively. But every time we come there, you say, Pantheon, I love that building, and we just walk around. And every time we're there, you ask, like, what is this building about?
Yeah, what's in there? What's happening there?
And then he looks it up on... nowadays on his phone. And then and then we go away and you come back and you ask the same question. So I said... Yeah,
well, most of the time it's pretty busy there, right? Yeah. But in these days, it's less busy. So now we're almost wondering, is this place open?
Yeah.
And as it happened, it was open. So we got in.
Exactly. And I said, if we go in, then you'll know, because you have a good... imprint of what it is. So
exactly.
So it was funny. We got in and there was no waiting line.
It was pretty empty. I mean, there were people, but there were sort of
big.
It's big. So, but the first thing we see there is, of course, the pendulum of Foucault.
Yeah,
it's amazing, right? Yeah. You see this big pendulum hanging from the top of this building, which is like 68 meters high or something, and there's this beautiful pendulum swinging there. And, this reminded me so much of the principle of rhythm, about life itself. It's always moving. We've got the ups, we've got the downs, we've got our mood swings, we've got seasons, we've got life, death. Everything is going from up, down, in, out, ebb, flow. So while I'm standing there watching this pendulum, I'm like, wow, man, I feel that I've come a long way for myself to understand that there's some way out of this pendulum, right? It's happening, but I don't have to react to this pendulum all the time, right? The consciousness level has risen above this swing of the pendulum. So I'm like, okay, we decide to go for one day to Paris, and it had been a long time since I've been there, maybe even 8 years or something, and we end up there.
Yeah.
Right at this pendulum, and I'm standing there, and I get this insight. I'm like, this is what it is. This principle of rhythm. I used to be so, going up with the ups and going down with the downs, like I see so many people do unconsciously, of course.
Yeah.
And then all this mindfulness training and energy training has taught me to distance myself from that, because I do have mood swings. I live in the seasons. It's winter now, right? I mean, it's cold and damp, but I have distance, So now I can, for most part, because life happens, of course, but for most part, I can distance myself from that and don't fall in the trap of moving with that, going into negativity or whatever, but just keeping my mindfulness. And then from the energy I've learned, it's like, how do I actually want to feel?
Yeah.
And then shift this energy, change the personality of it. If I feel it wants to go down, I change it upwards, right? So same as you, I do my affirmations, right? I do my energy training, and in the mornings, I decide how do I want to feel,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and I decide I want to feel good.
Yeah. And that's such that's such a shift. Actually, Paris, in many ways, it was kind of an eye opener because as we now live in these times where traveling is not as normal as it used to be, for us, we don't have these real big cities in this
Not in
area.
Holland, no.
So, and we're home much more. So being in a big city with all these energies was kind of wow. You're there and you're like, wow, this is what a city feels like.
We got out of the train in Gare du Nord, and we started walking from there towards the Sacré-Cœur, towards Montmartre, and it was like, whoa. So what I had to do immediately, it was like, okay, Armand, bring your mental body a little bit closer, right? Tune into the energy field, stay with your energy, and move from there. And it had the tendency to open a couple of times because, of course, you see all this movement and all this dynamic around you. But when I brought it back again, it was like, I'm in my feeling again, and and that sort of guided us along the way. And then trusting our feelings, we came to the Louvre, the museum, and we wanted to get in. We were like, in these times, probably there's no real queue or a line of people there, but it was, and we decided just follow this feeling. It's like, where do we want to go? And then we ended up at this Pantheon, and then we see the pendulum, and we're like,
this is where we're supposed to be at this moment.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Absolutely. So, but also in a city like Paris, it's exciting. There's so much to do, and you feel all this energy going. And then, but there's also this, like, you're losing a lot of energy if you're not aware of it. So, what you said, you want to kind of be in your own kind of bubble, enjoying all these things. And then after a day, I was kind of happy to sit down in the train and to ride back home and
leave that behind.
Yeah. So, and this is, when I was younger, I wasn't really aware of that. And I would go into cities and traveling and I would be so tired afterwards, just letting it all come in and all the people. And,
for sure. Yeah. I have the same thing. I'm a really sensitive person, right? It's not a coincidence that I've been starting teaching this stuff, right? And because I needed it as well, because I was so open, and I found at a certain point, and I still realize that sometimes that I have the tendency to mirror energy from other people or situations, and then I have to ask myself, it's like, this is not mine, is this mine? No, it's not mine. And then I'm back again. Where do I want to be? How do I want to feel? Right? In day-to-day living and situations, it's incredible to realize how much control is maybe the wrong word, but you have power over that, right? Yeah. But it's a trial and error thing, because life happens, situations can be rough, there can be circumstances that can be very unsure or whatever, and your feeling has the tendency to go with that, right? It goes out of the moment, goes into what can happen or what happened in the past, and it's all this rodeo really going on with your feeling. And I guess how you feel is the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to feel good. I don't want to feel, it's not like euphoric or anything like that per se, right? Just a stable, the heart is open, present, good feeling.
Yeah. And I think when you feel, that's funny, you have access to so much. Because when I was in touch more with my feelings, And I was really cut off from my feelings. I was doing things on automatic pilot, as they say. I'm not sure. But when I got back into feeling more, I could feel what food did with me. I could feel what routines did with me. And some were toxic for me, and some were really good for me. So I could decide on how it felt, what I would choose.
Yeah.
And beforehand, I would choose by this was the normal way to do things, or this was what was asked from me.
Exactly.
And now I'm much better. I'm not a master, but I'm much better in letting my feeling decide if I want to do things.
Yeah, to guide you, right? And you start to trust that at a certain point because you see the results of that, of this happening, right? So you have this shift from going from unconscious behavior to conscious behavior, and that takes a while. It takes a while to trust it as well, because you remember the unconscious behavior of the ego. You could say the astral ego, right? The part of you that remembers, right, and sticks to things. It wants to protect you at a certain level, right? So, but at a certain point, you have to decide: is this still working for me? It might have worked for you in the past, probably did, but is it still helpful?
Yeah.
Is it helpful for where you want to guide yourself, right? And allow yourself to be, be present in your life and go with the flow. Yeah. And that you need to get out of this realm of constant touching of situations. And it's like, oh, you want to control things and everything, because that's that's devastating, right? Staying in that situation too long is, it's gonna, but it's part of being human. Right, we all have that. I don't know anyone who hasn't gone through that. Maybe if you are raised by monkeys or wolves, but then you will howl like the wolves, right? So, but if you've grown up between humans, you've learned unconscious behavior and waking up from that, and that's a beautiful thing. Qigong a lot of the times is a lot about, when people get into Qigong, they think about health and things like that, which is awesome. It's all about that. But really, it's all about becoming aware of the state of your being and knowing how to influence that, right? So a great exercise would be is that you go to your energy ball in the morning, you go to the energy field, you tune into the energy body, and you ask yourself the question is like, how do I feel now? What's the personality of this feeling? Yeah. Is there maybe anxiety in this field? Is there fear, stress? Are there certain emotions in this field? Just observe it without touching. Yeah. Just observe the feeling. It's not only the feeling, you can also have the physical tension maybe that you can feel as a result of what you are observing there, but also the mental state, like what are some of these thoughts that flash by, or maybe images or something like that. And do that maybe for a couple of minutes and just observe it, and then change it to another energy. Change it to the feeling of happiness. Open the heart region, expand the energy, because you can feel if it's contracting and it's not, it's going the direction you don't want. Change it around. Open it and let it rise a little bit. You can even help that with the hands. So just rise it up gently and open this energy field and go to a state of, how do I feel good? Right? Even if in the beginning you're like, yeah, right, I don't feel good. So how do I know how? Just be an actor for now, just act it, and do that for a couple of minutes. Feel what's happening. But, you will feel it's like the lips, they tend to curl up a little bit. It's not even per se noticeable from the outside, but you will feel it definitely. You feel everything open up, and there's like, what? I can influence this. I don't need a good TV show. I don't need a drink. I don't need a good conversation. I can do that myself. I don't need anything externally. I just have to tune into the feeling and influence this feeling. Yeah. And keep doing that. And then you'll become better at it also during the day. So when things happen and your tendency is to touch things, right? You're in a situation, you're in traffic, whatever happens, in situations, hey, you feel the energy sink maybe, right? You feel like, oh, there's this emotional response coming. Turn it around immediately. And you will find this spot quicker and quicker, and train it during your daily life and your awake life, you could say.
Yeah.
And man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It changes everything. It changes everything. And I really had to learn how to do that because everything was driving me crazy. I was driving myself crazy, really, to be honest. So I could turn it around. Wow.
Yeah. And that's when you get better in that with that.
Mm-hmm.
You see that you also have a lot of impact on the people that are around you.
Wow.
Because when you can shift that energy, you can actually shift the energy of the room and the energy. Because a lot of people, when they're unconscious about how they feel and the energy they bring, it's probably heavier energy. And if you lift that up, and especially if we're together in a room and you try to shift, or not try, you just do it. After a while, it just gets normal.
It gets more normal, yeah.
And you shift
it becomes
that.
a skill.
Yeah, you feel that the energy in the room is lifting.
Oh, for sure. Everyone brings a certain feeling into the equation, right? So especially when, Christmas is not long ago, right? And so you're meeting family, or you come in a situation where normally you would, if you don't see people for a while, you come into the situation, you get into this role-playing mode that you've learned since, since you were young,
absolutely.
right? And these are so interesting, these moments to see, this is the energy.
Yeah.
And you observe people, the people and ask yourself, how do they feel? And can I feel that too?
Yeah.
When you're with someone or with the colleagues, same thing. If you're working with colleagues, year after year in the same room, whatever, observe their state of energy and feel, are you mirroring this?
Yeah.
Right? Change it.
Yeah.
Change your energy best you can and feel, does it have an effect on the other person as well?
Yeah.
If you can change your energy, oh my goodness, it's always a role playing between you and another person, right? If you've known each other long, there's probably some sort of a, structure there, but you can change that.
Yeah.
You can change that. I've done that with my family as well.
Yeah. It always starts with you, because you can be dependent, or you can feel that you're dependent on the other person to change. But if you're not changing, the other one isn't either. So you have to start making these changes, and then,
Sadly, we learn that we're just pointing our fingers, and that has to change. The government has to do this had to happen, that has to happen. I need more blah. My boss needs to blah blah.
Yeah.
You need to change.
Yeah.
Change first, then influence your surroundings.
Exactly.
And it becomes a skill, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
We're not trying to escape the pendulum here. No. I mean, the pendulum will swing. It does. Yeah. It's all about how you deal with that. Yeah. Right? And sometimes the pendulum can swing hard, talking about loss or sickness or, separation, whatever. Life happens. But when you start changing your own energy, you will feel, and we're talking about law of attraction, we talked about it earlier during the podcast, you will find that you have influence there.
Yeah.
You do. And you will find that your situation, your surroundings will change. Bad stuff tends not to find you anymore if you change your negative state
or I think,
to a lovable state.
And you give it a different, you see it in a different perspective. So,
totally. And you will see another person also in a different perspective, and this is where compassion starts to arise. Yeah. I didn't even know what that was, when I was, started training, I would read about compassion. I'm like, what is that? I mean, I do like certain people, but I was also in a not so much liking people state a lot of the time, right? So, but then you change your own energy, and then you have enough mindfulness to, instead of reacting to another person's energy, is to see, but they're struggling. These people are struggling with themselves. Yeah. They are clinging to something. They want to change something into, into something else. they're in non-acceptance, whatever state.
Yeah.
And that gives you much more compassion instead of going into that, negatively, Yeah. So your state of being has a huge influence. If you change your energy, think about how many people you know.
Yeah.
Just think about that. You know so many people. You got your family, you got your friends, you got your colleagues, you got your training partners. There's so many people you know, right? And there's also many people who you don't know yet, right?
Yeah.
But you meet every day. Going into the supermarket, having a talk with the cashier. Thanking someone for their effort, or acknowledging someone on the street.
Yeah, absolutely.
That a little smile of your energy can help a person in their whole day, can make their week.
Yeah.
Someone looked at me.
Absolutely.
In a lovable way. Not too lovable. Be careful here, right? Be careful here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A couple of years back, this was very hard for me. And it has become normal now.
Yeah.
That you feel like everything. My teacher used to say, everything is energy. Everything is. I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah. I understand physics and things like that. But it's an experience, right?
Yeah.
It's how you feel. It's not a mental concept. It's a feeling that's happening now.
Yeah.
So you can change now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Man, it saved my life, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. So these affirmations, what we're starting with, right?
Wow.
Didi, it's changed everything for you, right?
Yeah. It absolutely. And also when you were talking about colleagues, when I would write down what I'm thankful for, and I always also write down what I ask for that day. And I think beforehand, I would be more unconscious. Of course, I would be more unconscious and just go with the flow in an office. But when I wrote that down and I would go to the office and I would feel like, I don't really like this. I wrote down today that I want to feel good. And now somebody is kind of pulling on me to go the other direction. I would say, no, I don't want to go there.
Right.
So, it changed me. Also, I was getting better in changing at the moment.
Exactly.
In the moment, and not regretting things afterwards. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, but it's hard. You've learned to react in a certain way.
Yeah.
There's this thing going on with people, and you've been brought up that in books, movies, with your family, whatever. When you are young, you see people how they interact with each other, and we get this sort of role playing thing. But that's unconscious behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll make it conscious and change. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that was powerful.
I feel good. Okay, I hope you feel good as well, right? So experiment with this and study yourself in situations. And
Absolutely.
we hope this helped.
Yeah. And if you like it, subscribe.
Yep.
And hope to see you in the next one.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.